I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Please remain standing for a moment of silence for Marilyn Imhoff, the wife of our late Commissioner Butch Imhoff, who passed away recently. Thank you. We did have our executive session, health report from the personnel matters before the meeting. At the present time, I'm going to turn, I think, the meeting over to Mr. Setley for liquor license transfer from Mango Restaurant at 3325 Pleasant Drive.
Thank you, Mr. President. We received an application from Mango Restaurant Latino LLC to relocate a liquor license from 724 Bar and Lounge located at 724 Franklin Street in the city of Reading to the proposed Mango Restaurant to be located, as Mr. Malinowski said, at 3324 Plaza Drive. Yeah, on here it says, okay. It's in one of those spots. The license which is being transferred is license R-13909. And trying to propose this is for a Latin American restaurant and bar, and beer and alcohol serving, dine-in and take-out. I believe we have representatives of Mango with us tonight. Can you come forward? That microphone. Just give the board a little bit of description of what you're planning to do.
So for a regular Latin restaurant opening until 12 a.m. Have a nice food and liquor, beer, takeout. Yeah. Vanessa Lopez.
And we be open for lunch and dinner.
Oh, yes. We're trying to open from 12, well, we go at 10 a.m. to 12 a.m.
And when do you anticipate opening?
After the transfer with the liquor control, then we're gonna go from there. We gotta wait for them first.
Well, do any of the board members have any questions from this? Okay.
The question about will remain open till midnight, around 10 p.m.
Yeah, maybe midnight, depends how the business will go during the day, you know.
So there was a conditional use hearing held a couple of years ago. We'd have to refamiliarize ourselves with that conditional use hearing. I thought that
They gave us till midnight.
they
yeah.
did, okay, okay, we can clarify that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Does any member of the public have any questions?
Where were they previously located?
3324 Plaza Drive.
Previously.
Oh, previously we were in Reading.
And I'm told this is the old boot and shoot business. The A-frame.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions from the public? Hearing none, we can conclude this public hearing. And the board can consider whether or not to take action to approve the transfer.
All right, so I need a motion to adopt resolution 2023-02 approving the transfer of restaurant liquor license R-13909 into Muhlenberg Township. Moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Noes if any. The ayes have it, so ordered. And welcome to Muhlenberg.
Oh, thank you.
Good luck. So that concludes the public hearing for tonight. The next public presentation or discussion, we wanted to talk about, and the Bruce would like to come up and talk further about it. Commissioner Lasota has done a lot of work regarding this particular situation. You saw we tried a temporary kind of deterrent, which apparently set the Facebook world on fire for some
By the way,
for some unknown reason, tried to help the resident and just decided that that was the wrong thing to do, but anyway, I digress. We're trying to take some action tonight, if Paul, you want to talk a little bit about your findings, yeah, that would be very good.
Yeah, so the police department obviously put their equipment out there to gather some data, and if you're not aware, it was installed for a 2-week period. It started January 21st, 2023, and the equipment was removed on February the 4th, 2023. During that period of time, there was 5,479 vehicle movements. I think the one thing that surprised me is that there were significantly more movements northbound than southbound, which I don't know why it surprised me. There were 2,000 movements southbound, about 3,500 movements northbound. The other interesting thing, and I think you did mention this to us, is it's not so much a speeding issue up there. From an law enforcement perspective, only 4% of all of those vehicles traveling there, having had police officers there, could actually be cited for speeding. So it's a very low number compared to, and Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but other areas where we have done studies where that percentage is significantly higher.
Correct.
Yeah, so with respect to the speeding, the numbers were very low. I guess the other thing I did is I tried to do some research on my own as to, because it's not just speeding, it's traffic safety in general. How do you change people's behaviors when it comes to driving safer? And one of the things I learned in doing my research, and this is international research, this was research done in Europe and here in the States, and I talked to the chief about this, is that you're trying to change people's behaviors. And if you put police officers out there to enforce the existing speed limit, that's only going to work for a short period of time. 2-3 weeks later, the speeding will be back. So the question is, what techniques, what do we do to convince people to change their behavior and continue in that behavior for months, not just for a couple of weeks? And that's where, quite honestly, I got stuck, and I think the chief and I talked about it a little bit. We were sort of stymied as to what to do. The traditional thing is you put stop signs up, you make the road one way, you close the road that we opened, between that one area. All of that takes police enforcement then to make sure it's followed. And studies have shown, again, internationally, that you can do that police enforcement, and 3 weeks later, the habit comes back. So I know there were many other options that were discussed. I think we talked about speed bumps, speed tables, the term. There were other options thrown out there. I guess we just open it for discussion as to what we think might be the best resolution, because there is a problem. The question is, how do we best resolve that for the long term, not just for a couple of weeks? Any questions about this?
Sir, you got a comment, your name, please, for the record?
My name is Michael Bailey. I live on 4412 11th Avenue. My issue is you have Miller Street from Kutztown Road to 8th Avenue, which is very small, and it is one way. 11th Avenue, you cannot get 2 cars on that street. And I'm tired of having to redo my front yard because people drive through it to get around. There is your safety issue. I tell you, I was coming home one day and I turned in off the Hay Road, and over on the non-residential side, it's stone. So I stopped so I wouldn't go in people's yard, and some young girl drove by and went right like this to me because I made her fly around out on the stones. Yes, behaviors are an issue, but that one way, if you don't enforce it, this is what's gonna happen, boom, then you're gonna be forced to do it. And my personal opinion is that road is too small and too narrow for a 2-way street. It needs a one-way. Because they're just ruining, I don't know if you all went up through between Hay and Midway. My yard's dug up, but right there at Park to Midway, it's really bad. And like I said, my opinion is a one-way street. And I talked to Mr. Wolfinger 2 years ago when you used my old deck boards for frisbee golf. And, the speed limit, the speed bumps, him and I discussed. I think the speed issue is between Hay and Elnor, because back when we had the other chief, they had that radar black box right on the pole at my house. That's 2 long blocks where they can gather the speed. Where they were this time, they were up where you can only go 1 block, and you can't get as much speed. I would like to know how much speeding was done on that previous one.
They had it at our house too, though.
Yes, I noticed it was just at your house, but months ago, it was right out in front of my house. So that's, I got to say.
No, I appreciate the comments and I don't disagree with anything that you said. Been up there numerous times and it's 13 foot, it's, you can't fit 2 cars on the road, you just can't. The option is what do we do? And I don't know, and I don't know the chief, I don't know what other ramifications that we have if we make it a one way, but you can't fit 2 cars on that road. It's an impossibility without, you can put barriers up and you can do whatever you want to do, but it's not a speed issue, it's a volume issue because of the cars coming around and skirting past the school. So can we try it? And then if the problem happens, I'm not a signage expert, but we've all been up there numerous times. And you can't get 2 cars in it, let alone if we have to get the chief and some fire apparatus up there for someone knows. That's just my opinion, but whatever.
Here's our question with the one way. How will it be, and I understand the enforcement is limited, so how will it be enforced? What will be the ramifications? Like, what happens if somebody goes the wrong way?
Be like any other one way, you're on a sharp bet anywhere else.
Way, and somebody will be seen. I don't think it will be enforceable. And like you said, Mr. Lakota, it's like, if the speed bumps, I think that will reduce the amount of traffic, because people won't want to be bothered slowing down. So if we did a one way, what would be the best way? We don't have a traffic light at Kutztown and Hay, so if we have to go north, having to come out onto Hay Road to exit, coming out at Hay Road is backed up all the time because of the apartments and all that construction that went up of Hay Road. Having it come out that direction, or to drive down 10th Avenue to increase the traffic there, to drive down further to be able to exit onto Kutztown Road, it's going to increase the traffic on 10th Avenue. Or if we go the other direction, we're just.
It forces us to come home.
No,
On Hay and
Like you said, there's no clear answer, but
and I think widening the road would be a tremendous expense, it's just gonna make more traffic and more people.
right. So that's why I'm thinking,
Yeah, you got to do a lot of utility.
that's why we're thinking the speed bumps would deter the traffic and maybe minimize the number of cars and maybe help.
Now,
That's just our.
I did like Jim's idea about blocking off MTAA. I know it's a nice street that you just put in there that connected, everything, but I think that is one of the root causes of our issues. Ever since our street was paved and it was connected to Fresh Valley, that the traffic has really increased. So if you could blockade, not to, that there's a person that's on the corner of Midway and 11th, his driveway actually goes down 11th a little bit, right, towards the MTAA. If you blockaded past his property, I think that would probably be a pretty good solution to stop a lot of food traffic just going through. But
What do you think, Jeremy? You live there.
I have a lot of different ideas, but my opinion is we have one-way streets that are the same. That's the place right up here is the same way. I feel that that street should be a one-way. And I also think if we leave the section by MTA open, we do some sort of speed table. I say speed table because it's easier for plow trucks, it's easier, still deters speeding. And regulate that, that can be removed and used somewhere else if it doesn't work, that's what's nice. To help the speeding on where it is wide enough for two cars. But I feel it probably should go one way. Best of Places one way, Miller's one way, like the roads that are that width are one way. That's the only one that's not. And it'll take some time, but eventually you'll see it slowly decrease because of the one way. And we can't avoid the school zone anymore, so now it's just gonna take time, and I think it will help.
And the other issue is people running the stop signs too. I know the speed wasn't very high on some of those reports. But if you could monitor how many people just drive right through the stop signs, it's unbelievable.
We have them all over there.
It's not just there, trust me.
Yeah, I hear you, I mean, we do, and we hear you, and when we get to one way, I'm sure the chief is a conscious effort to try to put some folks out there, but. Yeah, I mean, I was coming up, we don't want to, I was going to work on Liza's Bridge, so we passed someone right in front of me, it's just, people are just, it's unfortunate. But I mean, I'll shut up and let my other commissioners talk, but, Jeremy lives there, he works it, he knows the roads better than anyone, so I'm more apt to take a recommendation from our public works director, and he knows how to remove it and to try it, and the chief get involved, that would be my gut instinct, to hope, see what happens. And then go from there, because we don't have to, if something doesn't work, we can come back and change it, right? Right?
Well, we'll operate under that, under the ordinance that allows the experimental signage before amending the traffic ordinance itself. Yes, we can do that.
What my fellow commissioners think.
One question I had was if it's one way, will it only increase the speed of the people going that way because they don't have to worry about anybody else coming the other direction? And if you do it one way, I think you also have to do some kind of speed bump or whatever to go along with it, or you're gonna have people just going faster because there's no other like coming in the other direction. Now, I stay away from the social media page, but my wife also tells me about what's going on there, and that irritates me. And I heard that this is a public road, and we have no right to close it, and monies were spent on the road, and the monies were spent because you guys deserve to have a decent road in front of your house. I mean, you were dodging holes in the street for a decade. And that's why it was done. And I question the legality of it being a legal street all the way up and down, because it's only 13 feet wide. So for those people who say that their tax dollars were spent on the road, their tax dollars were also spent on the road in front of their house. And you guys deserve to have a decent road in front of your house. 2 years ago, I think I said one way, I'm a one-way guy.
May I say one other thing? Jeremy just got this into my head, but he mentioned about plowing. How difficult is it to plow with speed bumps on that road if you decide to go that way?
That's why I would entertain or try to entertain, speed tables.
Yeah.
Speed tables, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they're a glorified speed bump, it's just a really long one. So if you're flying, you're gonna damage your car, but then a plow can come up, it rides on the top, and then it comes back down.
Okay.
It's a long stretch, where a
Okay.
speed bump is just one distinctive hump. They both do the same thing, it just one helps with plowing.
Okay.
Now, plowing is a very small percentage of what we do, in your, so I don't want.
Yeah.
I don't want to say, just because of that, but they are nicer,
Okay.
the speed tables are a lot more expensive, but they are the way to go, which a lot of municipalities are starting to utilize in problem areas.
Okay.
If anybody wants to see, a speed table that's in operation, you go up to North 14th Street, just below the, Hillside Playground. There are two speed tables up there, right in front of the playground, and they're there year round. And, I mean, it does slow you down to a degree. The thing about the signage piece is, I mean, I understand, well, you know, about trying to change people's behaviors, and certainly that's one of the things that you're trying to do. You're trying to instill the idea in people's minds that you can't just come up to this road, you can't just go flying down this road, you can't run through stop signs. You know, you need to be a courteous driver. Everybody takes a driver's license test, everybody's already aware of all these things, and then they go out and they just do what the hell they want to do anyway. You know, to me, a lot of it boils back to enforcement. You need to have a police car there certain times, and it can't be, yeah, we're gonna sit in this meeting and say, yes, for the next 2 weeks, we're gonna have an officer sit up there. It's like, it goes into the rotation somewhere, and the chief decides, on these couple of days, we're gonna send somebody up there without telling the general public, you know, that we're gonna have an officer there, and then you know, it kind of instills in people's heads that our police are out and they're looking for traffic violators. You know, because that's the only way you're gonna really stop somebody and change their behavior, to know that if they're driving in a manner that they shouldn't be, sooner or later, they're gonna get caught. To Commissioner Malinowski's point, excuse me, I laryngitis all week. The same thing on River Road. People were passing, there's signs were passing, marked on the road were passing. I like, the idea of, speed tables and one way. At least to try it.
Question. Can that be done in stages? Can we start with the speed tables first and then decide from there if that improves the usage of the road before we determine if it's gonna be one way? I mean, it's a small road. I believe it should be one way. But I believe that we should give it a try with speed tables first. My thought.
If we go that route with the speed table, it'll probably take a couple weeks to have them delivered. You know, at which point speed tables go up, we can put the traffic unit back out for, you know, that same 2 or 3 week period and monitor again.
My only concern is where I would like to see one put is at the MTAA side and then another one up further. Now, with that being said, they can skip right around and go in the MTA parking lot. So I want to reach out to MTAA and see what we can do as far as either blocking that or putting speed bumps on their entranceways up, something, so people don't come flying around and just avoid it. And, you know,
Commissioner, my only concern is about that is if we do that, like you've seen, if you walk your dog down to Jim Dietrich and there's a speed bump, they're just gonna drive right around it and ruin the yards even more. If we've got 2 cars on it, that's my only concern. It's so small that then they're gonna try to do everything to avoid the table, and they're just gonna move and go around it with 2 cars there and make it even worse to the properties up there. That's just my gut instinct, that we don't do it in concert with both. And we're still, the 2-car situation is still one of the ultimate problems. It isn't really speeding based on the numbers, it's too small. So that would be, my vote would be to do it both, and if we have to pull back, that's easier to do initially until we start to change the behavior, that, oh, it's one way, I can't go there, I'm not gonna drive through poor people's yards. That's just the way I would think to start it. But, you know, whatever the majority wants to do, I'm fine with it. And my still concern is it's so small, 2 cars, and you can't get on there.
Place it next to one of the utility poles, you can't.
that's what I would do.
They'll still try to go all the way around.
They will, but one way really is a good start, in my opinion.
How would you decide which direction?
For the point.
That
My only recommendation or comment there would be, if the concern is the volume of traffic and reducing the volume of traffic, the majority of the traffic is currently going north. So if you wanted to reduce the volume of traffic, you'd have a one-way coming south. Sorry if it impacts your drive home.
No, I would prefer that because the residents on 11th and at least an hour block wouldn't be forced to go and make a left on the hay and exit out on Georgetown Road on hay.
And it's easier to pull into 11th off of Hay if you make it south, because it is a weird intersection. That would be, I think, the smart way to go is south.
Visibility is a lot better at Fresh Valley than it is.
Yeah.
We need a motion.
I just wrote one. You want to hear it?
Sure.
Motion to authorize the public works superintendent to install one-way road north signs and to install speed tables on 11th Avenue.
Under our temporary enforcement regulation. In case we want to pull back or do a certain thing.
You said north, we wanted south.
He doesn't listen.
I'm seeing that.
Oh.
Actually, I'm hearing it.
So we need that motion by someone,
I'll make that motion.
second? I'll second. I'll second. Any further questions?
Yeah, one further question. Do we want to establish a time period to make measurement, or we just through the end of the school year? Because if I remember the initial conversation, it usually takes place, most of the issue takes place during the school year because people are trying to get off of Kutztown Road. So if we were to, I mean, we're only talking a few more months, believe it or not. Maybe we run it through the end of the school year and see what kind of progress we make.
We can add
Would
that.
you give like a notice up on 11th Avenue that this is gonna become a one-way on such and such a date? Or is it just gonna be, there it is?
Well, what we would do, what I would recommend to do is, send a mailer to the residents first and foremost, because that's who's impacted the most. Because depending on how they come home from work or how they travel could change. Then we would also do the signage like you see already at both ends. And probably I'll do an A-frame at every one coming up, temporarily waiting for all the product to come in to be installed. You know, a good couple week notice probably, but, yeah, definitely.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those if any, the ayes have it, so ordered, and see what happens. Thank you, folks, for coming.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak under the first public portion? Anyone wish to speak under the first public portion? Anybody else sign in here?
Yeah. Do a web of that, which we would probably handle with
No, Vanessa was already here. I was by, so. Eva, you're fine.
Two things. You talked about the speed table and you also mentioned just a few minutes ago, Lysis Bridge. People go through that stop sign all the time. Depend both directions, so. I think it would be nice if we did a speed table there or more enforcement. I know they're expensive, but it's very unsafe. We do get a lot of people walking in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've done, we've had officers there quite often, I know, well, you're Muhlenberg Park or.
Well, Eva, do you see people going to work and coming home from work? Those are the two areas where they go through it.
It's random. I mean, I'm not standing out there at 7 in.the morning, but it's all the time. It just depends who's driving, you know, who.
We
It's a
had
habit.
stop at the intersection.
Mhm.
Curtail that, but I see it all the time.
Yeah, it's a problem. Then every once in a while we get deer who get hit and then that's a problem for the road crew. It's a problem for the person who hits the poor animal and their car and then of course the animal, so. Then so thank you. And my other thought is, we have a tennis court at the Laurel Run where the pool is. Is that our pool or?
No, the Laurel Run Swimming Association is the 501c3. That's the Laurel Run
Okay,
Swimming Association.
so do we have a tennis court anywhere,
In the school district has tennis courts that are open to the public, yes,
but none in our parks?
that's correct.
Well, because this pickleball craze has got
We
to
have
be
a couple
some,
coming, right? Pickleball.
Pickleball courts, yes,
where are they coming?
Laurel Run Park.
Oh, are those the stickers I'm seeing in the back? There's like, on the trees,
We'll talk about that later. That was another grant application that was awarded.
okay. Well, but that Laurel Run Park expansion, what's the time frame on that? Isn't that,
We're working through the permitting process now, so we're trying to keep our earth disturbance less than an acre, which we so far haven't been able to do, which requires an NPDES permit, which requires a substantial amount of engineering and permitting work. That was a project that we were awarded enough to be able to hire a contractor to perform the work. And so our intent was to be able to bid late spring and award late spring and potentially have work done this year, but we're working through the permitting process for now.
okay, because I had a former client ask me about pickleball, so it's growing in popularity.
Yep.
What about the other pool, the property that you bought? Can't you put a pickleball there to make it look nice?
Well, we will pass that along to the Park and Rec Board. Okay, how's that?
Okay, thank you.
We can do Andrew there.
Thank you. All right, move on to the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the entire consent agenda.
Move.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it, so we're done. January, we did this early in our own planning commission. Any unfinished business? No. New business, motion to approve payment of bills presented by the Director of Finance and Customer Service.
Move.
Second, questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those if any, the ayes have it, so ordered. Motion to approve payment application number 2, Dameron Construction Inc. in the amount of $86,081.17 for work completed on the new salt shed project.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those if any, the ayes have it, so ordered. Motion to approve escrow release number 6 for the River Fred Phase 2 project in the amount of $75,464.
Move.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those if any, the ayes have it, so ordered. The motion to authorize SDE to put the 2023 road grading project out to bid.
Move. Second.
Any questions or comments? Jeremy, we usually publish those, right, Jeremy, on the website?
Once you approve this and it goes to bid, it'll be on the website.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those if any, the ayes have it, so ordered. Motion to authorize SEI to put the River Road Bridge Repair Project out to bid.
So move. I'll second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those if any, the ayes have it, so ordered. A motion to authorize SEI to put the 8th Avenue Bridge Repair Project out to bid.
So move.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those if any, the ayes have it, so ordered. Motion to approve the revisions to the police civil service rules and regulations.
So move.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those if any, the ayes have it, so ordered. Motion to approve a $1,000 sponsorship to the Berks County Solid Waste Authority.
Move.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those if any, the ayes have it, so ordered. Anyone with any other new business? All right, so board appointments, a motion to appoint Randy Gilbert and Ted Lavender to the Muhlenberg Fire and Rescue Board.
So moved.
Second,
Questions or comments?
I'm just, thank them for volunteering. It's very good.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those if any. The ayes have it, so ordered. Would anyone wish to speak under the second public portion? Seeing none, we will move into staff comments. Chief, let's start with you in the chief seat.
Late last week, I let, commissioners know we had an opportunity to acquire a FEMA asset, 2012, rescue pumper. It was been going on for a couple of months. We were unsure if we were gonna get it. We actually took possession of it over the weekend, so this year. They're going over it and hoping to get it in service, starting the community here in the next 2 or 3 months. So, it's a great opportunity. Something like this does not happen very often. So as long as everyone kind of is aware that it's not a norm in the fire service, but we have a really good opportunity to kind of get a new staff around us here helping and serving the community. All I have.
Thank you. Great job. Who wants to go first? Steve, while we're on the teams.
We had a new officer start the 3rd of February by Council Monker. I sent a copy of correspondence that we received from HDA regarding that situation that we dealt with. We announced a new hire testing for April 8th. So anybody's interested in becoming a police officer. And we also are going to announce the promotion tests for April 10th. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. And just to keep this, relatively new and thank you for the reports. I know you and Commissioner work on. I mean, we are busy department, so appreciate all the needs. That sometimes we wish you could share all of it. That was how much you guys really come across in a month's time. It's pretty unbelievable. So thank you for all that information.
You're welcome.
Karen.
Nothing at this time. All's good to go.
Joseph.
None at this time?
Before you guys leave the 11th Avenue residents, you can come grab a card for me so we can be in communication with how it's going and putting the stuff up. It will take time to get some stuff ordered, but I appreciate your patience already. I live there too, so I see it. I see it every day. No snow. That's about it.
Thanks, thanks for your input, and I greatly appreciate it. Mr. Bowman.
A couple of items to discuss. The planning commission in December viewed a plan for the redevelopment of the Manderbox site on Fifth Street. We expect full land development plans at our April planning commission meeting for that project. One of the comments that the planning commission made quite often at that December meeting was the concern for the northbound traffic at Water Street, trying to make that left-hand turn onto Water. The Newman Development Group heard those concerns and lobbied PennDOT. PennDOT has agreed to allow them to install a left turn arrow on Water Street or on Fifth Street onto Water Street.
Wow. I'm just totally shocked because,
We got denied about 2 years ago.
yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
Progress.
We don't have Wawa.
Other two important items to note. One, last year, in partnership with the Schuylkill River Greenways Association, we applied for $280,000 worth of funding to construct the first portion of the Schuylkill River Trail in Muhlenberg Township. That portion will run from Kelly's Lock to Laurel Run Park. And then very early in January, we applied for some more funding through DCED, federal ARPA money and were awarded $188,000 to construct a trail network inside the Riverside Basin. This was a project that we applied for funding for back in 2020 and were not awarded. This grant comes with zero match, so it's $188,000 to construct approximately 2 miles worth of trails in the basin itself.
Fantastic. Commissioner Lawrence, you're first.
I have to go back to the question, to PennDOT, is the turning lane contingent upon approval of plan?
The turning lane is contingent upon approval of the highway occupancy permit for the project.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. I can't talk much without coughing, so I'm just gonna thank everybody for coming. Then you can move on.
Commissioner Lasoda, you're next.
Just a comment that I want to make. Commissioner Malinowski mentioned that every month, and I'm new with this, we get a number of reports to look at from various departments. And since I'm the liaison for the police department, I spend more time looking at that report. And I just wanted to mention, because obviously there's a very busy police department. But the thing that I guess I was surprised this month was that we had a mental health challenge, I'll call it. We have many of those in the month, but we had one that was pretty significant. And the responding officer for that platoon was, I believe, our least experienced officer that responded to that call initially. And the officer in charge also responded to that call. That officer had over 30 years experience, and he said he never saw an individual that was that violent, that belligerent, that the whole thing took as long as it did. And yet our officer with the least amount of experience handled that professionally. And when I say that, he did that a number of ways. Number one is the individual that was having the mental health challenge did not injure themselves. He got the professional help that they needed. Our officer was not injured. The public, residents, family, friends that lived in the area, nobody was injured. So I looked at that and I thought, that just doesn't happen by luck. So how did that occur? And I realized as I'm learning more about the police organization that it starts with the police academy. Most of our police officers go through the police academy, which is formal classroom training. But then that needs to continue. So once that officer graduates, then comes to Muhlenberg Township, we have officers that are, can't think of the initials.
Field training.
Field trained officers that specialize, and they take those officers under their arms and give them what I'll call the practical training. So they have the classroom training from the academy, then you get the practical training from the officers. And just want to compliment the chief and the entire department, actually, the fact that it takes a team for that to occur. It starts at the academy. It starts with the selection process of the officers that we choose. It starts with the training when they come out of that formal education back here to get trained with actual field experience. And thus far, I'm just going to say I'm impressed with the workload that we have, that our officers are carrying on at the level they are. So just thanks again, Chief, and to the whole department, the sergeants, lieutenant, everyone. I think they're doing a good job. And I know there's challenges, traffic and things like that, but I think sometimes we focus on all those negative things, and those things will become positives, but a lot of good things going on in Muhlenberg in general and in the police department.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Wolfinger.
Good evening. Linda, I don't want to surprise you. I'm going to mention something about MTA, but I know a lot of things are happening at the library. Maybe you want to mention some of them if
Right now, they're all kind of contingent on quite a few things. So the schedule is not made and we're working on a lot. So next month I'll have all kinds of things.
Okay.
Okay,
Back in Thanksgiving, we had a main break where a lot of people on the other side of the highway in the west part of the township were out of water. And there was a lot of people were inconvenienced. And there's a lot of thought that the MTA did not follow the rules and that things could have been handled a lot better. At the next MTA meeting, a number of commissioners met with the MTA board. And we verbalized our concerns, the fact that there should be written rules, regulations, things to do under certain circumstances of whether it's a main break 1, 2, 3, or 4, and that these rules should be followed. I'm happy to say that the board really took this seriously. They have 99% of what they plan to have happen done. They're just filling in phone numbers and things like that as to who's to do what. But they expect to be at any main break within 1 hour. And then if it's a break that's going to be out for a certain period of time, they will be getting in touch with various organizations, the township. They'll get on media, they'll let everybody know. They're also requesting, in your water bills, you'll see a request that they want to have your information. Who do we contact if there's a problem like this? And they're building a database for this type of thing. A lot of their information was old. They have a phone system that automatically calls out. Well, that wasn't working correctly during that problem. But I'm expecting to have something for the board in March. They're going to be having written rules as to what they're going to do, to the point even where board members at a certain time will be getting involved. So I just wanted to get back to you. There were a lot of people that were concerned. Unfortunately, at that board meeting that we went to, there were only 2 people. I was surprised, and maybe I should have been, that showed up for the hearing to complain. But your board was there, and we verbalized our concerns, and I'm very pleased with how serious the MTA board took this. So,
Thank you. Commissioner Coe.
Good evening. I would say that we had the opportunity to meet with Chief Lafco last week, and we had a good meeting about how the department is growing and improving. And I'm very thankful about what you did during that meeting. We reviewed many things, facilities, this apparatus. That's not to take lightly, because that's a big asset to the department. It improved one of our apparatus 1989 to a 2012 apparatus. So I wanted to thank you to bring that to a conclusion. I also wanted to mention that the survey for the comprehensive plan is closed, usually closed with 558 surveys. We are coming to a conclusion to that very shortly, and we're getting a draft to review it, which is going to bring a lot of public meetings, which we hope to have a lot of participation. That is a good time to give us your input again on those public meetings once we have that draft, and we're going to be mentioning the dates where that will become available. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just quickly, thank you to our staff. Thank you to our folks from 11th Avenue. You know, we try to take a methodical, well thought out process. We know you live with it every day, so hopefully we can find a resolution that works for everybody in the community. To our chief with that fire apparatus, and I think the job that he's done, our commissioner, going that jumping right in and doing what we planned and why we created the position. So we think we're going in the right direction. So we'll keep at it and keep supporting our fire service as we have and continue to do so. So everyone have a nice evening, and we'll see you next month.